One of the first civilizations on Earth, the Sumerians, united and settled in ancient southern Mesopotamia, present-day southern and central Iraq around 3500 BC. Like most ancient civilizations, the Sumerians came to believe that almost every earthly phenomenon, anthropological aspect, and astronomical event was somehow controlled by unseen deities. This led to the emergence of more than 3,000 Sumerian gods and goddesses. Over the millennia, the Sumerians branched out into the Akkadian and later Babylonian people, with the basic mythology undergoing both minor and major changes. While most religions today are firmly rooted in the idea of an eternal God that transcends the very concept of time, the Sumerians believed that their primary gods were derived from the union between the goddess Nammu, the Sumerian goddess of that what was thought to be the primordial sea or saltwater pools, and her partnering her, who was not a deity but the personification of what was supposed to be an underground ocean of fresh water called Abzu or Apsu. These entities gave birth to An, the god of the sky, and Ki, who represented the earth. The human nature of the Sumerian gods. One of the most striking examples of Sumerian religion differing from modern religion is the purely human nature of the ancient Mesopotamian gods. Sumerian myth dictates that while almost every Sumerian god was a powerful being with supernatural abilities at his disposal, he was far from the type of omnipotent, supreme deities we are accustomed to thanks to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. No deity in the Sumerian pantheon of gods was above making mistakes, and these errors and lapses in judgment were often seen as parabolic lessons. Furthermore, these deities were depicted as either human in appearance or at least anthropomorphic. They also needed food, water, and shelter, much like the people who worshipped them. However, they were gigantic in size and made people feel physical anxiety and fear if they looked at them. However, it was not only their powers that separated them from humans. Members of the Mesopotamian pantheon were immortal, and while above the underworld, had an aura around them called Nammu, which was described as a glow that instantly distinguished them from ordinary mortals. Furthermore, they were supposed to lead quiet lives and at best be treated as whimsical overlords, eerily present just out of sight and sound as temperamental overseers of humans. There was no fair system of karmic give and take as appeared in later religions. The average Mesopotamian god could grant a difficult wish or take a life as he wished, even if the person in question was a devout worshipper and a good person. Such inconsistencies were also common in terms of what a god was for, with many gods in charge of one aspect of the cosmos, and the powers of one deity changing over time. The pantheon of Sumerian gods and goddesses was vast, as it numbered more than 3,000 gods and goddesses. But of this vast group, a few stand out for their importance to Sumerian religion and mythology. Nammu, the goddess of the primordial sea. One of the most highly regarded female deities in early Mesopotamian religion, Nammu gave birth to An and Ki, the gods of heaven and earth. She was the embodiment of the primordial sea, which played an important role in the creation of the world, and was also considered a mother goddess. The symbol that denotes her name is the same as that used to denote Engur, her mate, and the personification of the mythical underground freshwater ocean known as Abzu. Nammu is believed to have had greater significance in earlier times, but as there is no written record of these times, this cannot be said with certainty. In later times, Engur was essentially superseded by ENKI, the Sumerian god of water, wisdom, the waters and crafts, whom we will meet later. One version of the myth has it that when ENLIL proposed the idea of creating humans to Nammu, she told him that she could create such beings with the help of ENKI, who was also her son. Another version attributes the idea to Nammu herself. Either way, she went on to seek ENKI's help to create a clay figurine in the image of the gods themselves. She then turned it into a living, breathing human with the help of 7 goddesses, including Ninmah, who played the role of midwife. And the god of heaven. And the Sumerian deity who ruled the heavens, was the most important god and the most important deity in religion as a whole. Despite his position in the mythological hierarchy of ancient Sumer, almost no visual depictions of him survive, and written ones are obscure and inconsistent. The only consistent aspect of all visual depictions is his symbol, which represented a horned hat. The sky or sky god was also the patron god of the city of Uruk. He was essentially the supreme lord of all gods and mortals according to Mesopotamian religion. It is believed that An was both brother and husband to Ki, the earth goddess, and at some points was considered the de facto father of all creation. In some cases he is signified as the husband of Nammu, and took control of the heavens and separated heaven from earth when ENLIL stood between him and Ki, allowing the creation of the universe. Unlike the modern notion of heaven, the Sumerian sky essentially represented the heavens where certain gods dwelt. These included the aforementioned god of air ENLIL, the goddess of air Ninlil, the moon god Nana, and the sun god Utu. His other children, depending on the version of the myth, were ENKI, Nikikurga, Nadaba, Baba, and even Inanna and Kamarbi. The highest echelon of gods in Sumerian religion was known as anunnaki. The group consisted of 7 gods: An, ENLIL, ENKI, Ki/Ninhursag, Nana, Utu, and Inanna. Ki, goddess of the earth. Named after the earth herself, Ki is a direct descendant of Nammu. Together with An, she created some of the planet's vegetation, and also gave birth to ENLIL and the other gods known as the Anunnaki. After the first of these separated her from An, Ki remained on earth to rule her domain. She later married her son ENLIL, and the two went on to create all the plants and animals on the planet. At some point she was also Enki's wife and had 3 children, Ninurta, Ashji, and Panajangara. Although she is mentioned at length in Sumerian myths, some doubt her status as a deity, as there are few mentions of her in ancient records. There was also no cult formed to worship her, and she is said to be the same entity as the goddesses Ninmah, Ninhursag, and Nintu, among others. According to an ancient seal, she is depicted as a woman with long arms, wearing traditional clothing and a horned helmet. Whether a deity or not, she played an important role in the creation of the universe as well as of humans and human civilization. Her temples have been found at Nippur, Mari, and several other places under different names. ENLIL, the god of air. ENLIL should not need much introduction by now. The god of air, rain, storms, and even the earth, ENLIL may have created life by mating with his mother, but he later married the goddess Ninlil, from whom he gave birth to the gods Ninurta, Nana, and Utu, among others. The patron deity of the city of Nippur was given the names Father, Creator, Lord, Great Mountain, Raging Storm, and King of Foreign Lands. ENLIL's importance was immense, as he was believed to be the being who granted kingship to kings and the power behind most aspects of the universe. In fact, legends tell how he had Nana and Utu light up the sky after being displeased with the darkness in his heavenly home. The clash in the tone of his names is no exception. Numerous ancient texts simultaneously describe him as an aggressive, antagonistic god, while others record him as a kind, friendly, and benevolent being who protected the Sumerians. The latter descriptions are supported by the account of how ENLIL and ENKI ordered the gods Labar and Ashnan to go to earth to give its inhabitants cattle and grain. Followers of the cult of his name worshipped him at the temple of Eker, a word that translates roughly as mountain home. The ruins of the temple still stand today. A small statuette of ENLIL has been found in Nippur, depicting him as a bearded man seated on a throne. Although ENLIL's symbol was a crown with horns, no horns are visible in this case, although this is probably the result of millennia of damage. ENKI, god of water, wisdom, arts, crafts, male fertility, and magic. One of the 4 gods credited with creation, ENKI is primarily a god of fresh water and is believed to have filled the Tigris and Euphrates rivers with water and sea dwellers. As a result, he was depicted visually as a bearded man in typical clothing of the time, wearing a horned cap, seated, with streams flowing and fish around him. Unlike most great gods, ENKI did not live in heaven, on earth, or in the lower world. He lived in Abzu. Enki's main wife was Ki, but in this case she was always called Ninhursag. He also had relations with Damkina, as well as Ninsur and Ninkora, who were his daughters. He was also the father of 3 other children, Marduk, Utu, and Ninti. Although some other gods had a relatively larger share of support, as far as the extant records attest, Enki's contribution to the legends was perhaps as significant, if not greater. Engaging in all kinds of knowledge, arts, crafts, spells, and incantations, Enki, later known as the god, he was involved in almost all mental aspects of life in ancient Mesopotamia. In fact, Sumerian poetry mentions that he was deeply concerned with human civilization as a whole. As patron god of the city of Eridu, Enki's task was to endow the ruler of the country with knowledge, skill, and intelligence. However, he was far from independent, as his actions were almost entirely dictated by ENLIL, with Enki being something of an agent of execution. Unlike ENLIL, however, Enki almost always treated people well, seeming wiser and more peaceful than his master. According to some sources, not Enki but Abzu himself was revered by the people of Eridu as the personification of fresh water supplies. In the age of the ancient Sumerians, the foundations of civilization developed that shaped the trajectory of human history. Their mythology created a variety of gods and goddesses who ruled the world around them. The legacy of the Sumerians carries with it the idea of interaction between deities and humans that permeates today's beliefs. The Sumerians remind us that beliefs and cultural nuances are a collective product of time, space, and the inner world of man. Even in the distant past, they pursued knowledge and practiced their beliefs, creating an invasion of gods who dictated the order of life. Their story is an exciting journey in search of truth and meaning that shaped the foundations of our own human soul. Let us know in the comments if you enjoyed this video and if you'd like to know more about the Sumerian gods. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel.